Welcome back, everybody. It is the next episode of the Fearless Business Podcast. I'm your host, Robin Waite, the Fearless Business Coach. We're going to be talking all things content and digital marketing today, and I have a very esteemed guest. The New York Times calls him the web marketing guru, but what I call him is the author of one of the finest books, I think, out there, marketing-wise. It's Marcus Sheridan. Welcome to the show, Marcus. Best thing as well is like the principles and they ask you answer it. Like they are simple principles that pretty much any business owner can apply.
100%.
And any of us can sit and write some content.
It is not above anybody listening to this. Nobody here will read the Ask You Answer and say, there's no way I could do this. They're going to read it and say, what the heck? Why am I not doing this right now? That's what you're going to say if you read it.
I had a really interesting disagreement with somebody in a room on Clubhouse recently about content marketing. And we were all talking about different strategies and things like that. And I introduced them to the sort of thought processes behind sort of they ask you answer. And I kid you not, I went, oh, has anybody remembered this little app called Google? And somebody laughed at me. And I was like, 80-90% of traffic when somebody is searching for something still goes through Google. You know, it's one of the first websites that people go to actually search for information, which then leads them into YouTube, which is the second biggest search engine. It's owned by Google. It's still so relevant. You know, you can get a website up online.
Problem is, Robin, it's not cool to talk about that. And that's the issue. If it's not super cool, not super sexy, then people are trying to come up with fancy stuff that sounds cool or sounds better. But the reality is we all, pretty much for the most part, the majority of us learn about our purchasing decisions the same way. To your point, we're still, for the majority of us, using Google, and a very high percentage of us are going to YouTube. We're watching videos about it, and then we're making our decisions. Do we use some social? Yes, absolutely. Does it work differently on occasions? Yes, absolutely. But that's still the horse. That's the lead horse. And so you probably should make the lead horse happy if you can, and you want to make the customer happy if you can as well. That's what's beautiful about They Ask You Answer. And oh, by the way, that's all that Google is. They're trying to answer your questions as best they possibly can.
And they give you like clues as well. It's like with the little social snippets where it's got the questions at the top, and you click on it and they expand out, and you click on it and they expand out and things like that. And one of the other 5 pillars you mentioned about reviews as well, you know, Google review, you can get Trustpilot and you can get Facebook reviews and all these different review platforms. But actually, you know, on the Google website where people are actually going and searching for this stuff, if they find your website and next to it, it's got 100 5-star reviews, it's a no-brainer. Which business do you think they're going to be drawn to first, irrespective of whether they buy or not? But they're going to go to your website. So it's taking care of like 2 out of your 5 core principles there, just in one simple app.
100%.
In terms of the pool business, River Pools, how did you start that in the first place? Did you wake up, you know, as a teenager, a young
Nobody
boy,
ever says, I want to be a pool guy when I grow up. I mean, that you just don't hear that. But I had just gotten out of university and my 2 buddies had started this business. I was actually their first employee and I became a partner at 6 months. And that's the thing, you know, I think we focus too much on the industry because it's funny to me. When I became a pool guy, a family member came up to me, Marcus, so I heard you're going to be a pool guy. I said, yeah. And this person said, what a waste. What a waste. And that always stuck with me. And of course, I've had people around the world come up to me, around the world, all over the world and say, you're that pool guy, right? You're that pool guy, right? I read about you. And the point is, I realized that it wasn't about pools for me. You don't have to be passionate about the industry per se. It's what you're doing within the industry. I'm passionate about growing stuff and watching it turn into something really magical. So I grew, in this case, a pool company. And then I've grown an agency and I've grown other stuff. I like to grow stuff and I like to communicate along the way and I like to see the patterns along the way. It just happened that I was a pool guy at first. This whole idea about I would never work in that industry, man, people that think like that is so myopic. It is naive. It is missing the mark. And let me tell you, when it comes to blue collar industries, there's so much money, so much opportunity to be made for those that don't think they're too good for blue collar jobs.
It's really fascinating, actually. My guest, Marcus, that literally I recorded before this, the previous episode, Brian, he made his blue collar business was mowing lawns. His dad one day said, I'll stop playing on Nintendo. Our neighbor wants his lawn mown, go and earn some money. And he got $20 for his first lawn that he mowed and grew that business to be $10 million. So, you know, plus a year. Today, we've got it covered because we've got the landscaping, the pool, which the two go hand in hand together. Mm-hmm. And you're both incredibly successful, both incredibly like motivational people who other business owners will look up to and aspire to. And I hope that that family member has since looked back and said, well, congratulations, Marcus, I was wrong?
I don't know if they have or haven't, and I don't care if they do, because the path I have taken has been a glorious, beautiful path. And I think it's important that we all remember that it's not about the industry. It's about what you're doing within it so as to satiate your gifts and your talents. And I clearly satiated mine. And I wouldn't be a professional speaker today. I wouldn't have traveled the world today had I not started off as a pool guy. Everybody resonates with the pool guy story. Everybody's like, pool guy can do it. Why can't I do it? That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
They don't listen to me and say, my goodness, he's such a high IQ individual. There's no way I can do that. They're like, that guy right there can do this. There's no reason why I can't do that myself. That's a good thing.
I think it's obvious. I mean, like the energy which you carry, how do you keep that sort of going? What gets you up in the morning and sort of
It's
fired
not
up?
caffeine. I could tell you that. I don't do caffeine. I don't need caffeine. People ask me, Marcus, why are you so excited about this stuff? Because I would have lost my home. My 16 employees would have lost their jobs in 2009 had I not embraced these simple philosophies that are available to anybody. And so to me, it's like, we've got these opportunities. There's never been a better time to be a business owner than right stinking now, because you can be a small player, but a big fish, man. It's so fun. And the internet is the great equalizer. I don't care what type of budget some of these companies have to throw money at the TV and run ads. They're not creative thinkers. I'm creative. I think like buyers. And because of that, I'm able to do things at a scale some of these massive multi-billion-dollar companies can't do. You couldn't do that 50 years ago. You couldn't do it 25 years ago when the internet just started 25 years ago. We're still at the beginning, man. This is exciting stuff, and it changes lives. I live in a place of financial peace today, right? But for the first probably 34, 35, maybe almost years of my life, I never made more than $100,000 a year. And now I'm in a place of financial peace and prosperity, all because of adhering to simple common sense principles, where I started with what would I want as the buyer, as the customer, applied it to my business, then many businesses, and it's like, wow, that's amazing.
I think one of the things which I've noticed is that people just want like something for nothing now. They want to do it super fast. And the internet, I think, has given us this false perception that you can kind of launch a business and lo and behold, make $1 million in a year and everything's really easy. And the reality is, to draw a comparison to Brian, my previous guest as well, there is an element of like the slow, steady approach, which means that you're laying really solid foundations for your business. And again, that's a principle which I took from They Ask You Answer. It wasn't just about 10 articles that, you just happened to be lucky with those 10 articles. You wrote and you wrote and you wrote. You wrote hundreds or something like 1,200 articles in a year, didn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like I wrote one article a day. Actually, I did it at night. After the kids and my wife had gone to bed, I sat there and typed at the kitchen table. I did one a day, every day for 2 years until we became the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And I did that because I didn't have any other choice. I didn't have any other options. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, the quote that I always, and I've come to appreciate this so stinking much, is the idea of we oftentimes overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate in what we can do in 10. What has happened to me in my life in the last 10 years is absolutely stunning. I'm 43 years old. If you had said to me at 33, you're going to have this, this, and this, and achieve this and this, by the time you're 43, I'd say, no way. No, seriously? No. 10 years, man. Everything can change.